everybody, I got a tip. If you want me here, take a trip. It make you holler, it make you shout. Come along with me, we're tripping now. Now listen, girls, and listen, boys. These little things, they ain't no toys. They are for real, know what I mean. They make you holler, they make you shout. Come on, baby, we'll trip on out.
What is going on? And god dang it, my phone. I cannot see chat. And it says 0 people, but I don't think that that's accurate. Hold on, give me a second. This phone is on its last legs. I mean, I have another phone I can use. I just don't really like that phone. Gosh darn it. Sorry, y'all, I cannot see the chat. All right. Well, anyway, first things first. Oh, I gotta say this delicately because I'm not trying to out anybody or whatever, but okay. I haven't heard from you in 4 days. I texted you once yesterday and twice today. I'm not the kind that's gonna constantly text you. You know, I don't do that shit. At this point, I'm just concerned that you are safe. I hope. I mean, if you're mad at me, at least tell me to fuck off so I know you're all right. You know, I would understand if you are. But right now, I'm just worried that you're okay. At least if you want to just text me a middle finger, I'll take that, and I won't bother you. I'm just worried about you is all. If you're trying to, I get it. I've done this a few times. I just disappear for a while, don't answer anybody back. It's not a good thing to do, and I'm trying to be better about it. I haven't done it in a while. But if that's it, because of our last real conversation, I'm sorry. I get it. I was in the wrong. And if you want to talk right now privately, I will hang this shit up immediately. Just text me. Let me know you're okay. All right. I don't even know if you fuckers can hear me. All right, there we go. Now I can see chat. Yoo-hoo. All right. What's going on, Lord Farquad? What's up, soft ass feelings? We got a lot of those around here. Hey, the ever so lovely Melinda. How are you doing? What's going on, Freya? What's up, you wish? Yeah, I do wish. What's up, JFK? Oh, my screen's flaking out again. Anyway, that was really the main thing. Beyond that, I was hoping to go to the car show today, but that got fucked up. The town that I used to live in, every year they have a cruise night where people bring out their old classics, and they shut the roads down for a while to let just the classics cruise, and then they open it up to everybody. It's the only day of the year that town's actually fun because everybody's drunker than hell, and there's a lot of nice old cars floating around. It's cool. A lot of motorcycles too. Was that for Chuckles? No, community remix. That was that was not for Chuckles. Hey, what's up, PA Medic? So yeah. What else is there? I haven't been watching shit on YouTube the last few days. I really don't very much anymore at all. I've been updated on a couple of things today though. And I'll tell you this, I pulled a couple more wrenches today. And I hate that they're such a big deal to people, but if you're gonna roll with John Davis or Vic, you're not gonna have a wrench in here. What's up, Dr. Mortician? Those two are fucking psychos. Oh, and by the way, Vic, I know who gave you the money. And if you end up doing anything stupid, they're an accessory. Just so you know. Oh, speaking of money, uh, I I talked about this last time, but I've still not heard anything. Whoever hit me with a very generous donation a few days ago, I don't know if you like put an extra zero on there or what, and I don't know who you are. I presume it's in your real name, but I don't know who you are from YouTube. And YouTube's really the only thing I use Cash App for. But I've not spent any of it because I think it was probably the amount was probably a mistake. And if it was, I'm more than happy to send it back to you. You can just let me know. No hard feelings. What's up, Andrea D? Why do these psychos why does everybody go after Andrea D? I've never seen her be anything but a sweetheart. I don't get it. Hey Susan, what's going on? I was wondering about you the other day too. Hope you're doing all right. What's up, Kibana? How you doing? Yeah, Melinda, she is too nice, but I mean, I know that FM thought she was somebody else, but I think that's been proven to be not true. I just don't get it. I really don't. I'm still waiting on her to jump up here one of these days. I threw the link out just out of habit. I don't know. People can come up if they want, I guess, but I'm waiting on a text from somebody, and as soon as I get that text, if I get that text, I'm shutting this fucking thing down. Well, Miranda, just don't answer your phone on your days off. So I don't know what's been going on. I've been filled in on some things. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it yet or not. Got to kind of wait and see what law enforcement wants to do. I don't know. No, Miranda, nobody can force you to answer your phone unless you have a job that requires you to be on call all the time. Um, but yeah, nobody can force you to answer your phone. Fuck them. Yeah, Andrea, I understand that, but still, I don't know. There are people that are like way more outspoken and rude about it than you, and I don't know. I just don't understand why people keep going at you. You can come over here and sit next to me. I won't bite unless you want me to. Yes, Cubana. Andrea is very pretty. And just so you all know, I think I've said it before. I've like heard her voice on the phone. She's not a troll. She's not impersonating anybody. She's Andrea. Unless somebody borrowed my voice changer, I don't know. Maybe I was talking to myself. I guess it's possible. Yeah, Andrea, I heard that you were being threatened by that fucking psycho. Anybody that rolls with John Davis, he's a psychotic, lying piece of shit. If you roll with him, you're not going to have a wrench in here. That's all right, soft ass feelings. I was just saying that there are a lot of soft ass feelings around here. Um, I don't believe that the beginning applies to you directly, but just in case, um, trying to get a hold of somebody that I'm worried about. I haven't talked to her. We talk fairly regularly, and I haven't seen her around or talked to her in about 4 days. I texted her once yesterday and twice today. I'm not the type that sits there and just fucking text you and text you and text you. If you don't text me back, I just take the fucking hint, you know. But I am worried about, you know, that she's okay. If you're listening to this, I mean, if you're mad at me, fine. I don't, I understand that, but just you can send me just text me a middle finger so I know you're all right. Or if you want to talk right now, uh, text me and I will hang this shit up. What's up, Meth Claus? No, I'm not gonna say who it is. Um, she'll know. There's more to it than what I'm letting on, and I'm not out to put anybody's business out there or like embarrass somebody, you know. No, I appreciate the offer to help. You drunk at the grumpy meth, eating meth cabbage. Nice. I like it. I like a little speed with my vegetables. It helps them digest easier. Who will sue Vic for slander first? He's got bigger problems. Like he thinks that, yeah, Freya, I saw your DM, and no, it's not her. He's got bigger. Like he thinks that he's slick by privating his streams after he makes a bunch of threats and films himself driving down the road like a psychotic lunatic. Hey Vic, what if you fucking like? What if you slide into a family of six or some shit while you're doing this? How you gonna feel about that? Or you kill somebody's kid or take out somebody's mom or dad. How are you gonna feel about this shit? Are you gonna feel tough then, Vic? And if you end up confronting somebody and something like nasty happens, the people and Vic, I know who gave you the money. I'm not gonna tell you how I know, but I know. And because people are putting you up to this shit, they're accessories. There was a very famous case. I mean, this happens all the time, but there's a pretty famous case where a girl was egging a guy on to kill himself, and he did it, and she went to prison. It works like that. But yeah, everything he does is being recorded. So privating this shit's not doing him any good. Look, Vic, a year ago, about this time last year, you did the same shit. You were trying to do the same shit against people I didn't even like, and I wouldn't give you the information for this exact reason because I didn't want to be a fucking accessory. I was trying to keep your ass out of jail, Vic. These people that are putting you up to this shit are not your friends, man. They are using you, and they will drop you at the first sign of trouble. Remember last year when you told me that everybody stopped talking to you except for me? And I tell you what, I was very close. The only reason I hung in there was because I kind of thought maybe talking you out, hurting yourself or other people was the thing to do, but I don't know. I guess not. Oh yeah, by the way, Vic, I guess you said that uh, you would take my gun away from me. You know that I'm IDPA and CQB certified, right? I mean, I'm old, but I still know how to do this shit. You should probably look up what the 21-foot rule is and then think about it. You show up here, it's not going to go how you think. I can promise you that. So yeah, being sued is not his biggest problem. Yeah, soft ass feelings, you are on the right track. I don't want to say too much, but yeah, something like that's happening. Yeah, I used to like Vic too. I know he has some mental issues. He told me a whole bunch of shit um, last year, but I don't know. I'm not going to put it out there. Yeah, you can get restraining orders and cease and desist orders for internet harassment. And if you violate those, then you could go to jail. Yeah, Nate Dane has it right. Yeah, soft ass feelings. It is criminal. It threatening people isn't. It's more than just frowned upon these days. But the thing is he's demonstrated the ability to travel. You know what I mean? So if he's making threats, um, I mean across state lines, I don't know if that how that would work with being a federal offense. I really don't know. But he's demonstrated the willingness and ability to travel, and people giving him money to do it. Um, yeah, it's going to be a problem for all of them if anything happens. There's a lot I wish I could say right now. Oh yeah, and while we're on that subject, I am not part of any team. I stand alone. I've called some shit out from people that other people say that I'm on their team. You know, I pulled some wrenches from them too. So pretty much at this point, pretty much everybody except for my sweethearts can get fucked. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a contestant. Our first contestant is
President Sam Clinton, who did not inhale.
right on.
I'm going on a little rebranding, Bill.
I like it.
Well, it's getting a little bit tiresome, I guess, to boring, I should say, tiresome, old.
Yeah.
Trolling
Yeah.
Tommy, trolling Tommy had its moments, and I think that pointing out whatever he had going on, or bad behavior, or it's just obsessing about one person, I think is a little bit too much. It's exhausting, and quite frankly, it's a little bit boring at this point.
I agree.
So I had my name was CPP Sam, and I'm just trying to rebrand away from it, very clearly and obviously trying to rebrand away from it. I do want to give the part of this name actually is not my clever, my cleverness. It's or creativity. It's really thanks to Gabby and PHI, who started calling me this early on after I appeared on your program to have some fun and troll Cam, but the eagle-eyed viewers, your very let's just say not drug addict viewers, but your marijuana loving viewers that may or may not smoke all the time, noticed that I didn't at times I didn't inhale properly. And, that's a no-no in this community. Not knowing how to do drugs in this community is a big red flag for people. So,
Oh, yeah. That's why I press the cocaine issue so much. I want to make sure that everybody knows I'm cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's... Yeah, so I didn't know that not knowing how to do drugs or not knowing how to appropriately consume drugs is a big, huge no-no here. So I got called out for it. I got trolled for it, and I'm still getting trolled for it. But one of the clever creations out of all of that was Gabby calling me Sam Clinton ever since. And I thought that was pretty funny. So I'm going to actually brand myself as Sam Clinton, and just thought I'd throw a 2.0 in there to give a lingering notice for the once formidable Colorado Ped Patrol 2.0, or Chat 2.0, because everybody loves that, and it's totally dull and not really that creative, that portion of it. So, but yes, I haven't just wanted to jump up here and see how you were doing and see what you had going on tonight.
Well, I'm waiting for a text, and as soon as I get that text, if I get that text, I'll shut this fucking thing down. No offense, Sam, but I would much rather talk to a lady than all you people.
No problem. Hey, Bill, I can't fault you. But yeah, I'll talk to you as long as, seeing that there are no ladies up here, Bill, I thought I would fill the
Yeah.
void. And I have to say, Bill, I know you're good with ladies, but I don't see many ladies coming up on your program that often. Is that, I mean, I'm not red flagging that or calling it out, but do you often have female guests on the program? I mean, occasionally I will see them. Very occasionally I will see
Well,
them.
yeah, I used to, but they've all been threatened and they don't want to get dragged.
Okay.
One of them refers to it as caps creeps. They know they're going to get dragged. And I've actually, there's been a couple of them that are like, hey, I want to come up there, just, whatever. And I've actually told them not to because I don't want them to get dragged either. So,
Yeah.
but it's still going strong behind the scenes for the most part.
Well, of course.
I'm actually going to get to meet one here pretty soon.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I just wanted to give a couple items too, in addition to me going the Sam Clinton route, and thanks to Gabby and PHI. And again, I do want to thank them for both of them. We had a couple months ago, Cam had circulated some of my information, and one of the people that he gave it to was, in fact, Gabby or Sammy Joe. And, whatever folks' thoughts are about both of them, I think that they have shown themselves to be truly, I'm thankful that they were able to maintain my personal information without spreading it. And I think looking back, I think a lot of things that has happened to both of them and PHI, I think it has been maybe unfair, and they call out stuff. I think at times they maybe pick on people, particularly PHI. I think she picked on me. I didn't really do anything to her. And I've always liked Gabby. She's been, really, really just a very decent person in an indecent community. And but PHI in particular has been at my throat a few times, but I've survived with my throat intact, maybe injured somewhat, but still got it. Still got my voice. But I wanted to say too that, a couple people have been, the other idea that, everyone you should have an opinion about everyone, and you have to justify everyone's actions that happen to be your friend. JT Colfax is my friend, and I am not here to answer for his behavior, though. And this idea that you have to come up and drag in public or give some sort of admonishment for behavior is ridiculous, and it's divisive.
It's weak.
I don't have to share a friendship publicly. What I talk to or with or about with JT as a friend has nothing to do with the public format that YouTube is. And, whatever his behavior is, or he's doing or engaged with, is he can answer for it. I shouldn't have to, nor anybody else should have to answer for someone else's behavior. And that really goes for across the board. It's not just this situation where, JT was, driving around on July 4th, but it goes for everybody. It's like, if each person should have to answer for their own behavior, personal responsibility and accountability, and this drama that comes up with, will that person, and I think it also boils over to, the biggest ticket item in this community, which is, what's going on, or what happened months ago with the revelation with Edward. The fact that I have to answer for that, or you have to answer for that, or you can't go anywhere on the internet without being asked. That's someone else's, certainly you can defend the process or, people's rights, but the idea that at every move you're supposed to be defending, you're supposed to be calling out or dragging other people and their behavior is a foreign idea. It's a stupid idea, and it is only meant to cause harm, chaos, and drama. And I think that that's where, if you're friends with that person, but that person's friends with another person, and you need to do this, or I can't be your friend if that, and this person did this, but you won't call them out in public, but maybe you did it in private, and why should I have to call someone out in public and humiliate someone or shame them? Because that seems more attention focused than it does actually trying to change someone's behavior. Because I really think that calling somebody out in public is not meant to change their behavior. It's meant for attention seeking drama.
Right. It's weak, and it's an easy way to get views. That's all it is.
Yeah. And I think I've gotten on the bad side of JFK, and I don't want to do that.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. There's two people I talk with, and I respect a lot, and that is Jenny T and JFK. And I see that she has come into chat, it looks like, with "weed is not a drug," Sam. So, Bill, can you help me revise?
Weed is classified as a drug, just like caffeine is a drug. Suppositories, also a drug. But not just because something's a drug doesn't make it bad.
So I'm not saying weed is I think that if everyone should, sort of the libertarian view that as long as you're not affecting somebody else, to each their own. But if I called it a drug, so it's not in the drug in the sense, I guess, that heroin, cocaine, or meth, I guess, would be considered drugs. But I guess it definitely does have altering effects on one's body, right? So in that manner, it is a drug.
Well,
JFK. I do think it's a drug, and I hate to disagree with JFK, but and she may start dragging me, which I don't want. But weed is a drug, I think, for sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a drug by definition. Okay, here's the deal, though. If you want to get technical, weed is actually more illegal than cocaine, because weed federally is a Schedule I drug, which the way it's written has no medicinal value, which we know is bullshit. They came up with all that one way back in the 20s and 30s when they illegalized it for a whole bunch of political end. It was all about money. It wasn't really about public safety. But cocaine, on the other hand, is a Schedule II drug, which means it's actually less illegal than marijuana, because cocaine has recognized medicinal uses. I personally, that's all I use it for, is medicinal. It cures a lot of things.
Right. Well, then why don't where's the legalized cocaine political action committees, though? I don't see very many of them. But I mean, marijuana does as well have medicinal. Cannabis, I guess has cannabinoid or whatever the. I mean, it's a medical. You can get a medical license to use it, right? So it has some sort of medical benefit for various illnesses, I guess. But
well, see, here's the thing: we all have cannabinoid receptors. We have opioid receptors. So if we're not supposed to use this shit, why the fuck are we born with these receptors that make us feel good? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And when it comes to like we just have a natural knowing about what drugs are going to get us off, because think about it. How many fucking plants did they go through? Did they dry it out, went to the process, rolled up, smoked, before they finally got to marijuana? I mean, that got them high. How much shit did they fucking try that with? I don't think it worked that way. I think people just naturally knew, hey, I got these receptors, I'm going to smoke that shit.
Right.
you know, and cocaine's an even harder process to get it to where you can use it like that. I mean, you can just chew on the leaves and get a buzz, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think that, the whole war on drugs concept was and still is a sort of government scam to tie people up in the system. And I think that for those states that did legalize marijuana early on have benefited immensely from a safer use of marijuana, which is, without the additives. And so you see now with fentanyl, they are, when you buy things off of the street, they're sometimes, or now they're most definitely laced with more harmful and more addictive ingredients. And when you buy something, that's why you shouldn't buy anything off the sort of in the black market, because there's this idea that you don't know what you're getting. There's no, whether you buy Adderall or marijuana or cocaine or anything that is not been sort of, there's no quality control with it, and there's no regulation behind it. You run the risk of having ingredients in there that can harm you. So there's that new one that's called, I think it's called xylene. Have you heard of this?
Xylene? I don't think so.
Spelled Xylazine. Trank, I guess, is the term. It's more powerful than fentanyl.
Yeah.
But there is a dramatic increase in using xylazine. Maybe it's called xylazine, not xylene.
I think it's xylazine. Yeah, I do know what that is. Never had it. Don't want to try it. But yeah, that shit's fucked up, man.
Yeah, I mean, it has caused an explosion of overdoses. And in fact, Narcan does not work with xylazine. So when you try with fentanyl, they found that Narcan is pretty effective. And in fact, people wanted to start using xylazine because you wouldn't be able to use Narcan to save someone from overdoses, because one of the things is when people use Narcan, they get mad at the person who gave it to them because you've reversed the effects and you've saved their life.
It sucks.
Potentially.
It sucks.
But you brought them out of their high.
Right. It does save a lot of lives, but yeah, it does suck. And then you can't get high again for like 24 hours because it takes a while to get that shit out of your system.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if you got your text message. Is this
I've got some
community related message, or is it an non-community related stuff?
Well, both really. Yeah, hold on a second. Let me look at my text messages. The other people that have texted me just now, no, you're not the ones I'm looking for, but I am glad to hear from you. I'm glad you're doing okay. The one I'm looking for specifically, we talk at least every other day, and haven't heard from her for 4 days. I texted her once yesterday and twice today. I'm not the guy that will text you 50 times if you don't answer me right away, right? At this point, I don't know if she's mad at me or if something's wrong. I'm just worried about. I'm more worried that something's wrong at this point, and I have no, I have no idea who I would contact to find out. I hope I'm just being a paranoid prick, but yeah.
Is this someone you regularly communicate with?
Yeah. If I didn't regularly communicate with them, I wouldn't think anything of it. But there's possibilities he's mad at me over something, which fine. And if that's
wouldn't be the first lady mad at you for something, Bill, I'm guessing.
No, sir, wouldn't be the first lady right now that's mad at me, actually. But
I do also want to say, as far as the I think it's the case is closed regarding the evidence submission. Several of the decoys for the Florida catches have come forward and said that they have seen that either the evidence was submitted or communication with the detectives in the cases. So that, for that matter, I'm not going to address that anymore or entertain any more trolling for that. I mean, people can continue to ask, and they will continue to be referred back to the answer that Telly gave us all on his stream a couple weeks ago that I posted on Instagram, in which he heard from one of the decoys that the evidence was indeed submitted. So for all of the lies and the misinformation that was distributed for several months, that I didn't turn in the evidence, that I was withholding evidence, that I didn't do the job, that I didn't want for whatever lie or for whatever reason people gave those lies, those were all lies. And thank you to the tremendous reporting from Telly. Smelly Telly does a great job with his reporting in from Europe of the fact that these cases were indeed submitted, and he didn't trust anything that I said, but certainly the decoys were able to confirm that. So, and again, why do people even ask me anymore? If you're not going to, that's another thing. You're not entitled to an answer. And for those that believe that they are entitled to an answer when they ask me, why do you ask me if you're not going to believe my answer?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool that you see, it won't matter though. They're still going to say it didn't happen. They're still going to come at you for it.
Oh,
These
yeah,
people,
right.
like,
No,
even
they're still saying that. They're still saying that even with the confirmation from the independent and I guess way more credible decoy or decoys, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't even matter what the truth is to them. And it doesn't matter what I say or the answer is. They have in their head what they want to believe to continue on their whatever journey that they're on.
that's the thing. Even if Edward brought a letter from the governor to say, "Hey, that was our fuck up. You're completely free and clear," it wouldn't matter. People are still going to come at him and say he's a CP suspect, which he really even isn't. The warrant wasn't about him, and he was never charged with anything like that. So he's really not a suspect. So they're just using that as an excuse to have all these dragging streams, and some people are using it as revenge, and it's just the people are going to think what they want. There's all kinds of shit that people say about me that's not true. I usually don't even challenge it because I don't care.
Well, I mean, because
But yeah,
you're
people are
trying
going
to
to think what they
convince.
want.
They're going to think what they want, or they're going to think what their group wants them to think, right? The other problem is that there's very little independence from people. It's whatever sort of the chat trolls or whatever the masses do or whatever they think will keep them off of the radar. And that's why, I don't, Warbot trolled me early on and was pretty tough on me. I listened to what he had to say about some of the stuff, about some of my actions and the way I conducted myself. And I really have come to respect what Warbot has to say. And if you go and look at his channel, you will see that a large amount of people that are very much participatory in this community, at least whether they agree with Warbot or not, they at least go to his channel and listen to what he has to say and then comment on it and react to it. And I like him a lot. And he's someone that has influenced me in some of the things that I've done and some of the things that I've said. And I do wish him his best in health and knowing that, he's going through some stuff as many people are. And that's another thing, that the internet is not real life. And many people in this community are going through things in their personal life, in real life, and this is supposed to be an escape for them. But sometimes it's not an escape. Sometimes it's, not understanding or having empathy for what the person in the other end of this chat or on panel is going through. And people have been dragged for their health. People have been mocked, and it's just not a healthy thing to none of us really would treat each other in real life anyway nearly like we think that we can get away with on the internet. And a little bit is the Stanford prison experiment, Bill, in which you put somebody sort of in charge and you see how they conduct themselves when they're in charge, and then they promise that they'll never do it, and then when they're in charge they become super abusive, and the internet is a little bit that way, in which you can treat people that you wouldn't otherwise treat them in person, or in the alternative, in your everyday life or in your working or in your personal relationships. So I just think that all of us should try to do better in conducting ourselves in our own behavior. And that goes for me. I don't really like the dragging, like the really divisive dragging. I think there's a difference between trolling people and dragging people. And even if you believe that that person deserves to be dragged or harmed, I'm not sure what this really dark and divisive, and potentially people can point to the trolling that was done to Tommy. I don't know where it started or how it became this divided, but there's things that all of us can do to be better people. And that's not to say that you can't troll, and that's not to say that you can't point out bad behavior. There's things that I personally observed with Tommy that he's done on lives that I think is, I don't think he treats people who are former people that helped him with the type of respect that I think that they deserve. I think that he's grifted off of this community some. I think that he's engaged in inappropriate conduct. And I don't think that he's above being sort of pointed out of things that he should do better to be a better person. And I've always said that. And I have to say, some of the things that I've said, I've noticed that he changes his behavior a little bit. And maybe it's because of me, and maybe it's not because of me. I know that people in this chat or any chat wouldn't give me any credit for it. But there's a couple things that I didn't like about what he did. And he stopped doing it. And I don't need to get into it, but I very clearly said when I did the holiday challenge why I really didn't like him. And that was the reason. As a survivor and a victim of sexual abuse, there were certain things that he was doing in relation to his own stories that I thought were inappropriate. And I have noticed very much in the last couple months that he has refrained from saying anything about that. And, catching predators doesn't require a reason. And I've said that and you don't need to give a reason why you want to catch predators. It is self-fulfilling. It's self-explanatory. I want to catch predators. I want to help protect kids. You don't need to go beyond that. And for those who have survived sexual abuse, I think that if you choose to tell your story, it is your story. Get to own it and control it and have dominion over it and use it to have a positive impact in your life. Don't hold on to the negativity. Don't hold on to the harm and the trauma. Let it go and use it to transform your life for the better, to empower yourself and to empower other people and that have gone through the same thing that maybe haven't gotten to a place where they can overcome it. And when you use the term survivor is a real term, and survivor is to be a better person from the trauma that you went through. It's to become a positive influence in those around you. And that's what it means to be a survivor. A survivor of sexual abuse does not mean, when we use the term survivor, it doesn't mean to be on drugs and an alcoholic and do things that are harmful to yourself or those around you because of the trauma that you went through. Being a survivor means to be a force of positive good in the world and to use what you went through, the most heinous thing that anyone could go through, to better yourself And that's what I have tried to do in my own life. That for sure, being abused has had a negative influence on my relationships and my ability to connect with people. But at the same time, I have used it to protect other people. I've used it to protect, other types of harmful relationships that I've seen. As far as, I've been a very big proponent of not allowing, and goes for my family and my friends, that I am very much opposed to having people stay in your home. Having people stay in your home other than direct a father, mother, and their kids, an aunt, an uncle, a close friend of the family, a brother of the father. I don't think it should happen. Whether they're coming and staying for a week for holidays or a year because they're going to school. One of the biggest ways that you can protect your kids from abuse potentially is creating that castle doctrine over your, putting up a wall basically. And that is something that we need to, because we do know that 1 in 3 sexual abuse cases are caused by family members and people close to the victim. 9 in 10 are by people who personally know the victim, and the victim personally knows the abuser. So I think that there's a lot of things that we can do in our own lives to protect our sphere, have a sphere of influence over those of us around, other people, whether you're cousins or aunt or uncle to someone, or you're a close friend. In the things that I do and get to do, I get to, I work in a business that allows me to have some impact in some of my opinions, whether people can take them or not, over what I think is, for people's, housing and their housing where they live. And I think that having that type of impact.
Let me say something here, Sam. As a father, and I believe me, I was pretty protective, especially over my daughter. I get what you're saying about, and I didn't just have random people staying at my house when my kids were there. There was no, I didn't party when my kids were home. And it always bothered me when I would go to somebody else's house and we'd all be drunk or whatever, and they'd have little kids either running around out in the open where just anything could happen, and where people were smoking dope and the fucking little kids are inhaling. That shit always bothered me. Or they would just stuff them up in the room or whatever. Either way, I just was not ever comfortable partying around kids. And my kids, believe it or not, very rarely ever saw me drunk. And when they were little, I wasn't hitting the drugs too hard, or actually really not at all then. Anyway, we do the best we can to protect our kids. And if you're halfway careful, you can keep people away from them to a degree, but you can't wall them up in the basement. You can't, like, they have to go to school, you have to work. You can't always control everybody's going to be around them. I mean, I would always meet, beginning every school year, you always have a meet and greet with the teachers, which really isn't enough. But I always made sure I did that. And if I got a bad feel, which never happened, but I would have done something, I don't know what, but yeah, I completely understand wanting to protect your kids all the time. Most of us want to, but it's just not possible to. I mean, it's possible, but I mean, yeah, you got to go to work, and your kids have to go somewhere while you're at work. Your kids have to learn, and like homeschooling is a thing, but it's not a real possibility for everybody. There's just, you got to. And I looking back, I didn't know as much about the stuff then as I do now, as far as like checking devices. And every once in a while, I would ask my daughter for her phone, not because I thought she was getting stalked by internet creeps, but just to make sure none of her little male friends were overstepping bounds. I didn't really want to invade on her privacy, but at the same time, I'm not her friend. I'm her father. I'm her protector. And it was a huge freaking try to take a teenage girl's phone for 5 minutes and see how that goes out for you.
Well, I don't, I think that's one. There are certainly the rewards of being a parent, I'm sure, are, it's probably one of the best things that one could do in life. But I have not had to. It's hard to it's hard to understand, Bill. I guess until you're a parent, you really don't know until you've had to raise children, and the pressures of raising a kid nowadays is probably, with cell phones, computers, and all the things that
Well,
kids have
yeah,
access to.
not only do you have to worry about creeps, in-person creeps, you got to worry about fucking creeps from all over the world now. And as far as my daughter goes, I was showing her because she used to live right where PCI operates. So I showed her their channel, and she hit me up one day. She's like, "That's the guy I had to block on Instagram. That's the guy. That's one of they had caught a guy that like a couple years before when she was in high school. They caught a guy that she had to block on Instagram because he was trying to creep on her."
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, that's cool in one sense that he was caught and she was able to, she had blocked him too. That I'm glad that, I guess, shout out to PHI yet again, I guess, for times two today.
Or not well, yeah, PHI also, but it was actually PCI. It was before PHI. I probably misspoke, but it was PCI.
Well, shout out to everybody in Indiana, I guess, because there's a lot of good catching teams there. But yeah, I do think, but again, I understand you can't wall your kids off, Bill, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's natural to let people in your home that you trust, but you should not. You should not trust anyone. For those of us that have survived sexual abuse, we don't trust anyone, and we shouldn't. And
you shouldn't.
It should not be a parent's role to get to decide who is in close proximity to their kids on a regular basis, unsupervised. That should be the parent's role. And I understand that parents go to work. I understand that there's things that when you have to balance a career with raising kids, you have to balance them. It's not a balance I have to make, but a lot of people do. But at the same time, you can control whether you're drunk or drinking a lot. You can control when and where you do drugs. And I do know that, there was a number of cases that happens regularly. And I can't remember exactly where I saw it recently, but, it actually is in this community. And it was a case in which someone had abused a child, but they were heavy drinkers. That person was a heavy drinker, and they may not literally had, maybe they were high or drunk, or people do things. And this is why it's very important that you know who's around your kids, and it's also that you conduct yourself accordingly. I don't drink a whole lot. I don't do a lot of drugs. Sorry, JFK. Drugs, including marijuana, which is a drug. JFK, it is a drug. I'm going to disagree with you on that. And having an environment for your kids that they're letting them go off and go spend time with the priest or the coach, and it should all be done in a very, very controlled setting where there's other kids around. And I'm not saying that coaches and priests and teachers can't have positive impacts on kids' lives. They absolutely can. It's a fundamental of growing up, is to have those positive impacts. But you should know that that something is inappropriate. And I think that for sure we're looking at these stranger danger type situations where kids might be on these applications or in Discord or online playing gaming, and they encounter predators. It happens regularly. But really, when it comes down to it, and you look at the statistics, 9 in 10, 90% of predators and pedophiles personally know their victim, and the victim personally knows the predator. teachers, coaches, family members, an uncle that stayed in the house for 3 months, an aunt, a friend, you know, a teen, you know, a mom that was friends. You know, she had, you know, she has kids over her. She's got a son, and the son has 5 friends. That, you know, the friends are over all the time. The mom's transporting, you know, and the dad. People are, you know, the friends of other kids' friends, you know, or parents of other kids' friends. These are all situations that are intermingled, and I think that in this community, we've come to be aware of those situations that we need to be very, we don't need to, obviously there's one thing I've learned in this community, Bill. No one in this community trusts anyone. And so
you can't.
I would say that we need to take that distrust, I would say, and we need to apply it. And hopefully we do in this community, apply it to our everyday life and for those around your kids. Don't trust anyone for any reason. And that's not to say, again, you can't build a wall, you know, say build a wall, grab their phones and everything. But there's certainly applications, a Sentry parental control app. There's apps that you can put on kids' phones that allow, you know, I've talked about this before, that you can keyword in things that can catch, you know, situations that your kids should not be around or encountering. And then, you know, just check up on your kids. You do a secret shopper. You don't need to follow your kids everywhere, but you know, your kid says he's going to go to the park 5 times. Okay. Let him go. Don't follow him. Let him go. And then the 3rd time, go follow him or her and just see what's going on. You can sort of secret parent it instead of secret shopper, something like that. And that's what I think is important. And I'm not trying to tell anybody how to be a parent, but I definitely, from my own experience of being a son, that having not, you know, again, my mother was so concerned about me going into bathrooms by myself. For a good portion of my life when I was a kid, I can remember her. She was just very helicopter, you know, strange, you know, going into bathrooms by myself, you know, going and playing golf with an adult at the golf course, and very concerned about that. But yet she agreed to allow a predator into our home that lived in our home for 2 years. And so yet this is someone who was super helicoptery and so very much concerned about her child's safety when it came to strangers. But at the same time, we had someone invited into our home. And it's something that I actually put on my Instagram the other day, Bill. I'm not sure if you saw it, but I post regularly stories of sexual abuse cases, particularly when it involves female offenders, because I do think that that's an underreported and underrepresentative group that in this in the community and outside of the community that we don't hear a lot of. You know, we think that all offenders and pedophiles and predators are men, and that's not the case. Maybe women are more careful. Maybe female offenders aren't necessarily using dating apps. We know that, you know, when you go to a dating app, traditionally there's 100 people, 99 of them are men, and one of them is a, is a maybe trans person. So.
Well,
But
you also have when I was decoying, I had a girl. Unfortunately, it was right when AZ was quitting, so they didn't get caught. But she hit up my decoy account. She was looking for a young girl for her boyfriend. She was very brainwashed by this guy, very controlled by this guy. She had been very groomed, and I talked to her for a couple of months. And eventually, I mean, we would get to where, yeah, we're going to meet. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Kind of back and forth like that. But she was doing it all not necessarily because she wanted to, but because her boyfriend wanted her to.
Yeah.
And they were going to share this young girl. So, I mean, you have shit like that in the mix too. It's I think that female predators are more like what I call in-person preds. Like you hear stories about all these
Yeah.
female teachers getting caught, and I'm guilty of it. I had sex with my student teacher when I was a senior or a junior in high school. Uh, and I don't say it anymore, but I used to say, yeah,
How old?
I high five people to this day over. You know what I mean? I don't say it anymore because I get it, but um,
Well, I mean, how old were you?
I was 17. Our age difference
How
wasn't
old
that
was she?
different. I was seven.
How old was she?
I'm not exact. She was old enough to buy alcohol. I believe she was 22. She might have only been 21, but I know she was old enough to legally buy alcohol. Um,
Yeah. Well, actually, that's something that I've learned too, being a voice for uh, male or just being outspoken about my own abuse by a female relative. I've actually gotten quite a bit of people confiding in me, men in this community, of their own abuse at the hands of women, and they don't feel comfortable talking about it. They never told anybody about it. Um, and they understand that, for me, I consider it a very serious thing. I take any sexual abuse, with, uh, you know, outrage and sort of shock and uh but at the same time, uh in our own reaction to abusive abusive stories. But they that's it. They've told someone, they've never said anything about it. And so when you look at, oh well, 96% of sex offenders are men, how many men, one of the things I've done is, in normal course of conversation with family and friends, at what age did you start? Who was the first? I've asked this question before. At what age was your first sexual experience with an adult? And the reactions are kind of interesting. There's actually almost more men coming forward with stories of having sex with a female adult as a child than I've heard in the opposite, as far as female minors, and so having sex with male adults. So, it's something that I'm passionate about. I want to work, and I think forward to bring and shed some light and spotlight it. It was one of the original reasons why I did the female predator catch challenge, was to shed some light on that and to be able to talk about it and to have a voice for it. And I do think that, it may not, sexual abuse there's a variety of different effects that it has on a child as they grow older. And for men, it might be different than women, but at the same time, that type of conduct, and as men grow older and boys become men, and they had or were sexualized at a young age by an adult woman, at the time they might have thought that it was an experience that should be high-fived. But as they get older, they will come to realize that that type of abuse was indeed predatory. It was abusive. It was manipulative, controlling, and it is exactly the type of behavior that we should try to stamp out in our society. And I do think that it should be something that we talk about more often. And, Bill, I've told you before that I'm working on the Survivors Network. I've been working on it for some time now. And I think that trolling has, I enjoy trolling. I enjoy pushing back against trolls that troll me. And I enjoy drama. I'm not going to lie. And the attention that comes with drama. But at the same time, I do have some serious ideas for things that I want to do inside and outside the community. And those are things that I would like to share with you and your channel and the people that come to your channel. And so, yeah,
Good.
I don't know how long.
I would love to do something that actually like would help somehow. or like not be brain dead like my normal content, you know.
Well, I think that we're all here, whether we consider ourselves part of a community or not, that each of us are here for our own reasons. And I do think that the people in this community mostly are survivors of sexual abuse or know a survivor or a victim of sexual abuse. And so I think that with that understanding, I think that we all waste a lot of time. I'm not going to lie, I wasted a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
Trolling and energy and obsessing over Tommy. I think that people, he is such a, so Tommy's sort of like Trump. I would say you either love him or you hate him, and he's either earned your love or he's earned your hate, and there's hard to have a middle ground. And I think that, I do look at a lot of the former people that were involved with his organization and the things that they've said and the things that he's done. He claims that he always just fights back in response. I'm not sure that that's true. I think that, but at the same time, I do know how hard it is I've been trolled relentlessly for 2.5 months now after the Florida trip, just relentlessly trolled. And I am sure that people will follow me around forever and in eternity in regards to already having the answers. They don't care about the answers. They don't care about the truth. They care about their own version of what they want to use to troll me with. And I'm just going to have to come and realize that. And I do plan on having the Florida catches out. I think we're going to have it all in one sort of documentary for the Survivors Network. There are other footage out there that should be or could be or has been posted of these catches. The reliance on the footage that I got for 4 of the 6 catches was never supposed to be the primary footage for release to this community and to the broader predator catching community as far as viewers. But I will have an edited version of the 4 catches condensed to 1. And I'm going to make sure that all those parties that are either in the film, other than the predator, obviously, consent to having their image or their voice. But hopefully we will have that and there will be cooperation, and I'm going to have that released. And people can continue to troll me about why it's taken so long. And I hate to use the excuse, well, how many catches have you done? How many times have you But I do think that there is a point of, when you do something like this, how hard it is. And that is one thing I do have to say and have said, that doing this trip in Florida has allowed me to experience catching from a different perspective and getting outside of my house, outside, away from my computer, and involved with trying to keep people safe, involved in trying to catch someone who's doing something or they shouldn't be doing, illegal and harmful and heinous, and doing it all in a manner in which you can capture it to have someone be able to see, and then to ensure that everyone involved is kept safe from that point forward afterwards. Their information, the doxing, and that's not just my information, it's everyone involved is information. And so, yeah, I think that there's a lot of considerations that have to happen. The Florida trip was, it's become sort of this lightning rod, and I do intend on having those catches out, and I do have them out in short order, and they will be in conjunction, Bill, with the information that I'm going to start distributing and with the Survivors Network. So it will be in conjunction with that. So with that, I didn't want to keep you too long if you didn't want to be on here. But
you're fine. I'm still hoping that person I'm looking for text me. She hasn't yet. So,
Well, I can keep talking, Bill. And for Bombs Over Broadway, does he
well,
ever
I know you
stop
can.
talking? Well, Bombs, you must not have been here. Bombs Away, or I'm sorry, not Bombs Away. That was Tommy holding a firework the other day with a cigarette in his hand. I don't know if you caught that, Bill, but Tommy was demonstrating to us how how to have fun with fireworks or how to blow your head off with fireworks. But he literally was holding a firework, that the tubing, while in the same hand he had a cigarette and the tubing together.
That's smart.
And holding his phone in the other one. So
Well,
cautionary
see,
tale for
that's why you should always, and I say this every fucking year, I got to remind you people every year, always hold your explosives in your mouth so that you don't blow your hand off. It's not that hard, people.
not hard at all. Well, it was did you do anything fun for July 4th? I guess you'd posted something with fireworks. Did you do some fireworks?
I blew some shit. During the day I blew some shit up, and at night I was with somebody, and all these little towns around here have their own fireworks displays. But we just kind of hung out on the back road and watched them from like 20 miles away, 10 miles away, and we're just kind of chilling out by ourselves out there watching everybody's show out in the middle of nowhere. But during the day, man, I made one hell of an explosion, but unfortunately I didn't think to film it. So,
with like a grenade or what? Just a regular normal retail firework?
Ammonium nitrate. I mix up ammonium nitrate. I shouldn't say this. Ammonium nitrate and aluminum powder.
Gotcha.
And
okay,
then you can either shoot it and set it off, or I didn't make any detonators this year, but like I know how to make remote detonators. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I just shot it and set it off. But what I like to do is I'll take a 55-gallon drum, turn it upside down, and mix up like 5 pounds of that stuff. They call it tannerite or aluminol. Just depends on how you mix it up. But flip an open top 55-gallon drum upside down. Set it up on a couple of clay blocks, because clay will disintegrate. You don't want to use wood or concrete because that'll just make shrapnel. And then you have some space, and I used for this one I used 5 pounds, and then a little bit of gasoline for a little texture and flavor and color. And when that tannerite goes off underneath the drum, it shoots that fucking thing like 150 feet up in the air. So it's fun.
Cool. Is it pretty loud too?
Oh yeah, that concussion hits you right in the chest, man. See, this is part of why I've had so many concussions, is from shit like that. Like my whole life, I always thought it was fun when you get hit with that shock wave and the concussion rattles you around. Turns out it was damaging my brain the whole time. I know it's hard to imagine that I have brain damage, but yeah, I have legitimate TBI because of shit like that.
Well, I would consider that doing stupid shit like that, Bill. Are you saying that you're a regular, you do that has that sort of, or is it from other stuff, or that's mainly it? Just setting.
It's from car accidents. It's from.
Well, that's nuts. Yeah, you can't prevent that.
We used to train pretty hard, and our instructors would concuss you on purpose to train you how to get up from it faster. Because if you get concussed in a real fight, you got to try your best to stay in the fight, or you're just gonna, get really fucked up. So they would concuss us on purpose. At the time, it wasn't as understood, or at least I didn't know as much about repeated concussions back then. Yeah. So like they would put you on the floor, concuss you on purpose, and then the idea was to get up as fast as you can and stay in the fight. So that
the instructor for what was this for?
It was a combination of Krav Maga and whatever the fuck else.
What was it called? It's just like a
Krav Maga. Krav Maga was designed in World War II to fight Nazis with it. Krav Maga is a combination of it's like the fastest to learn and the most effective parts of a lot of different martial arts. It's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's boxing, it's Thai boxing, there's a lot of like edged weapons and disarming and all that kind of stuff. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I did Taekwondo before that, basically because that was the only martial art we had around here. And nothing against I know I'm gonna get shit from the Taekwondo guys, but um, that's not the most effective thing. Like you can spend years working on perfecting a roundhouse, which is fine. A roundhouse is awesome, but you spend a lot of time perfecting it, whereas you could be spending the same amount of time learning other things that are just as effective. You know.
Yeah.
And then my job, most of that part of it was because of the job I had. We had to, like, we couldn't just street fight somebody and run away. We had to fight these fuckers, hold them down, and put them into handcuffs. So it's a whole other level.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're fighting in a bar where eventually a bouncer or your girlfriends are going to break it up. Sometimes you're detaining people that really have nothing to lose because they don't want to go to prison for 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, was this during your when you were doing a bounty hunting stuff? The instructor for that?
Yeah. But even before that, I was.
Did it come into handy? Did it come in handy?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Most of the time, things were pretty uneventful. Your first step is to try to keep things calm. So de-escalation was actually just as important, if not more. Like I would have some of these guys laughing all the way back to the jail. Like I didn't try to be a tough guy right off the bat, but sometimes you get somebody that's methed out of their mind, or they have nothing to lose and they don't care who they have to kill to get away. Which realistically probably only about I would say between 8 and 10% of the people that I apprehended actually physically fought. I mean, there was a lot of arguing, and then a whole other aspect. I've actually fought family members or their friends that were trying to rescue them more than I actually had to fight the fugitives. That was a whole other thing. And then, sometimes I tried to never go by myself. Sometimes it happened, and sometimes you get mobbed.
Do you have blanket immunity if you interact with or have to? I mean, can the offender or can the offender's family sue you if you tackle them or do something like that, or injure them or anything like that? Or did you ever get like civilly sued?
No. I never got.
But were you granted immunity by the state?
On the fugitive, yeah. But like the people around them, if you're within your rights, if you're not being overly aggressive, you're probably going to be okay. Yeah, you can get sued by anybody for pretty much anything, but it's a matter of whether they win or not. And I was lucky enough; the company that I worked for provided me with lawyers if I needed them, and they paid for a hell of a lot of training for me because the guy that I worked for that owned the actual bail bond agency, his name's Scott Olson. You can look him up. I think he's retired now, but like he was on Night Beat and Nightline and Dateline, all that kind of stuff like that. So I got to work right directly with him, and he paid for a lot of my training to get me certified for this, that, and the other. So I got real lucky. I got all that shit for free. But as far as getting sued goes, the fugitive themselves, I mean, the way the law is written, and I don't have my card on me, but in that Taylor versus Tainer is what regulates, and it's a real small thing. You can look it up, Taylor versus Tainer. It says, you can arrest somebody on the Sabbath, blah, blah, blah. And in there it says, by any means necessary. Well, I mean, that's federal law, by any means necessary. Now, if you were to run around and just like shoot people in the back of the head, they probably wouldn't let that fly. But that by any means necessary, it pretty much is a blanket clause to get away with a lot of shit. The only thing you can't violate like their civil rights. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if they challenge you, you can do what you got to do to put them down, and they can't really do a whole hell of a lot about it.
Right. I was just wondering if like bounty hunters have the same sort of qualified immunity protections that sort of police officers have from being civilly sued from someone that you have to interact with, or even a family member. I mean, if a family member or friend, you're saying that those cases, it was actually the family member or friend that gave you more problems than the actual fugitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
you see, and the fugitive, the what we call the principal, the fugitive, when they sign paperwork to get bonded out of jail, they pretty much sign their lives over to you, like they're held by it. When you're a bail bondsman, you can literally make that principal do whatever the hell you want. I mean, you probably couldn't make them fuck you, nothing like that, but I used to joke with these guys. I'd tell them everything they got to do. Sometimes depending on what their crime was or how much of a flight risk we thought they were. Sometimes they would have to call in every day or every week from a landline so we'd know where they were at. Um, and I would joke around with them, say, "Yeah, you got to mow my yard every Friday." Most of them knew it was a joke, but a few guys were like, "Okay, yeah, I'll be there." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not going to do that to you." But um, there was a 19. This happened more than once, but this one specifically, 19-year-old kid. His parents were bonding him out of jail for some stupid shit, and they were extremely worried about him because of his drug use. So I put in his contract that he had to go to rehab, so we could enforce shit like that. There was a guy that dude had never been in trouble in his life, and I bonded him out twice within a week for drunk driving, and like he seemed like a really nice guy. The second time, I'm like, "Dude, what's going on, man?" He's like, "Well, I'm going through a divorce." He's like, I never really drank until now. Blah blah blah." He's like, "I think I need some help." So, really for his benefit, I ordered him to get counseling. Now, I probably would not have enforced it, but I had him give me permission to talk to his counselor to make sure he was doing it. We can revoke their bond anytime we want for any reason we want. We don't need a reason. We can just revoke bonds and put people back in jail for whatever the hell we need to. Um,
so how does it work? How does it work then? So I'm just curious on the business aspect of it. So when you get not being having been ever arrested or needing to get a bond, but knowing people that have, uh, so a judge sets a bond. A judge sets a bond at $50,000, not a cash bond. You can get it for 10%. So you have to come up
mhm.
with 10% of 50,000, which is
Right,
5,000.
5,000. Yeah,
So I'm in jail, let's say, and a family member or a friend cobble together the $5,000, go into a bond company that's next to the jail. Typically they're right next to jail, and somehow there's an insurance contract too within that bond, that there's an
right.
insurance company that's insuring. So I give $5,000 to the bond company. The bond goes to the jail and basically says, okay, I'm vouching for this person. He's now my customer, I guess. And that allows you to get out. Okay, I don't show up for my next court date. I thought bounty hunters. So do bounty hunters work for the actual company, like the retail location that I went in and gave my 5,000, or is it a separate sort of independent contractor in which that Jason's bail bonds took my 5,000, put up the collateral or whatever, and then I skip, don't show up for my next court date or whatever, and Jason's bail bond company now has to put forward the 50,000 with the judge. Does it happen immediately, or the court? Does it happen immediately, or do they give them some time to come up with
No,
that money?
no. Um, I can only speak on Indiana because the states are a little bit different. But in Indiana, you got a $50,000 surety bond. So I come in and I have these bonds that are already paid for, right? Whatever bond amount that I write, like the whole 50,000 through the insurance company, I have to have that much money already in my own account. Like you cannot legally, you cannot have like a company account. It has to be individual. So I think I get up to a little over 1.5 million. So I can only have $1.5 million worth of bonds out at any one time, right?
Wait, but I
So
thought
you
that was
already
the
have
purpose.
to.
That was the purpose of the insurance. I didn't know the bond company, Jason's bail bonds, has to have that kind of money in the bank to settle all of the bonds outstanding, essentially.
Right. And the insurance company is involved because they have to back all that up.
Well, no, but
Like
why
if
do you
you
need
write
to
it,
carry that? Why do you need to carry that type of money if the insurance company is basically covering you if someone skips?
because you have to have the account. The insurance company is the one. It's kind of like a middleman, between the state and the bondsman. The insurance company is the one that actually has the bonds that we sign and hand to the county.
So
Does
it's
that
actually
does that make
you in
sense?
this case. In this case, Jason's bail bond has to go to his bank, withdraw $50,000, and turn it over to the court at that point.
No, not really. You have the bond, and I posted some pictures of some bonds that I haven't turned back in yet. I just put them on my community post, so there's pictures of what they look like there. Um, like let's say you have a bond for $50,000, we can write that bond for up to 50,000. You can write it for less if you need to, but whatever the top amount on there is the cap, right? I have that money through the insurance company. It goes through them into my own account, right? And if I were to overstep my bounds or whatever, the insurance company would have to cover that. Or if when the county goes to cash in, let's say, okay, I bond you out of jail, you give me the 5,000, I keep that 5,000. That's my fee for putting up my 50 grand, my risk.
Sure, and
I'm betting that
it's
you'll go to
standard.
court.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, yes, it's always 10%.
That's
In
not
Indiana,
a good
it cannot.
Bill, if I ever get charged with a crime, I'm not a good bet. I may never, you may never see me again. So
Oh, I'll
anyway,
find you, man.
go.
Trust me on that.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, you would love, and I'm sure you would love to be assigned that case too. That would be more worth it more than the money. But yeah, no. All right, go ahead.
Sam,
So,
I've been looking for an excuse to handcuff you this whole time. So
I bet you have. A lot of people have actually. You wouldn't be the only, but I know you would actually be the one that would be able to do it. So I'm got my eyes. I got my eyes head on a swivel, Bill. But anyway, so all right, so I don't show up for court. Or I do show up for court through the end of my case. You get 5,000. That's your profit. I don't set trials coming up. I don't take the plea deal. I don't show up for court. What ball's in your court now? What happens from that point forward?
The court notifies us that you didn't show up, and in Indiana, every 3 months that we don't find the guy, the county takes a quarter of that. So you've got a year to find them to get some of your money back. But if you find them within the first 3 months, which is why we're adamant about finding them right away, you don't lose any money. And
so wait a minute.
For a bond
even if you find me in Mexico 3 years from now, doesn't matter. You lost the money. It's all gone, essentially.
Right.
So what incentive? What incentive do you try to have to find me after a year?
Revenge. I'm not kidding, man.
Well, no, is that seriously? That's the incentive. Is basically you fucked me over out of my $50,000, and I'm gonna find you, motherfucker. Basically.
Yep. I've worked cases like that. When I first started, I had a full bail license. When you have a full bondsman license, that also includes the recovery license. And so I got to learn. I got to train. I got tens of thousands of dollars worth of training for free. I got real lucky. So I've worked cases like that. At first I strictly did recoveries for the bond company that I worked for, and eventually I wanted to start my own, and I did. But I talked to them. I'm like, hey, you guys have spent a lot of money on me, but I want a little bit more work. Is it okay if I start my own thing? And they're like, yeah, go for it, just as long as you prioritize us first. You get two cases, you get multiple cases going on at once. You got to prioritize ours, and we won't say shit about it. which was really cool because they paid all that money to have me trained, right? And
Yeah.
Scott Olson specialized in high risk fugitives, so therefore I was trained for high risk fugitive, and I specialized in it also. We would take cases that some places either wouldn't take or shouldn't. I've seen a lot of dumb fucks out there that had almost zero training, and they're out there, yeah, I'm a fucking bounty hunter, and they get their asses handed to them. You know, I saw that a lot. But after I started my own, yeah, I took cases where the bondsman is now just paying me out of his pocket. Um, because after time goes by, like these people quit trying to hide as much, so they get a little
Yeah.
bit more relaxed. And if you kind of let it go for a while, and then go back in, a lot of times you'll get them. And at that point, it is just a matter of because you're a fucking criminal, or put you back in jail where you belong, and revenge for the bondsman. I've had bondsmen go out of their way to pay me to find these guys after they'd already lost all their money. So
Yeah. What about those cases in which, so obviously, all right. So I paid you the $5,000. I had a $50,000 bond. I have an upcoming trial. I skip out. Judge first signs a bench warrant for my arrest, right? So that puts all the people on notice that I have a warrant out. All law enforcement people, I guess. And then you get to work trying to find me, to apprehend me, to bring me back to, I guess, the jail so that I can be processed to go back to court. What if in a week I get pulled over and you didn't find me? Someone ran my tags, or I encountered a law enforcement agent, and and basically within the first 90 days I was returned, but not through your work. Do you still get credit for that?
sometimes, and that's actually a good question, because I did find a lot of people that were in jail somewhere else. If I'm the one that finds out that they're in jail someplace else, I still get paid, even if I haven't done jack shit. That's just how it works. And that happened a lot. There were times, like I would find out somebody that I was looking for. Okay, they're in jail in Kentucky. All right, where in Kentucky? I don't know. They're just in jail in Kentucky. So there were times where I called every fucking county jail in Kentucky to find people, and I found quite a few that way.
And
The nice thing about Kentucky, though, huh?
Are you responsible for transporting them back to the county in which they were out on bond at?
It depends. If they have a UFAP order, a UFAP order is unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, which technically they all are. But if you can have the judge issue a UFAP order, then you're supposed to be able to take them to any jail, which is nice. But not every jail wants to cooperate with that. If they don't have a UFAP order, then I've driven guys shackled up through several states. Then you got to be responsible for them, and it's a big pain in the ass, and I charged extra for that.
Yeah. Well, then what happens then? Typically when they flight, are they typically given no bond when they are returned?
Typically. It kind of depends, on what their charge was. And see, most people that I rearrested, most of them weren't really actively trying to hide. Most of them, they would say, "Oh, I forgot that I had a court date." I don't know how the fuck you forgot, because like we give it to you on 3 different sheets of paper. I personally always made them repeat it to me a couple of times. Plus the court mails them shit. Now there's been a couple times where like court dates got changed and the lawyers didn't tell them, right. That kind of thing happens. Doesn't matter though what your reason is. You still are a fugitive, and I still have to take you to jail.
No,
there was one that I met. Huh?
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
There was one that I felt like a real asshole, because this woman had she had 4 little like stair step little kids, and like we could tell that she wasn't actively trying to run, and we did try to like maintain people's dignity, like not kicking in their doors and haul them out in handcuffs in front of their neighbors. We tried to be cool with people like that, if you're actively running from me, and especially if you're taunting me, all bets are off. But this one woman in particular, we just knocked on the door. We're like, "Hey, you missed your court date," and she's like, "No, my lawyer said that I didn't have to go to court." And that's something else, people. If your lawyer says that you don't have to go to court, he'll go for you. You make sure you show up, because if that lawyer doesn't show up, it's on you. And that's what she showed me a letter that her lawyer told her, you do not, your court date's this day, but you don't have to go because I'll be there for you. Well, lawyer didn't show up, so that issued a warrant for her because nobody was there. So there I am. These little kids are fucking. We're trying to be cool as we can, but of course the husband's upset. I mean, he started kind of coming at me. Usually when that happened, I would either go for my pepper spray or my baton. I was really good with the baton, but like there's little kids in that house. And if I start deploying pepper spray, everybody gets a hit of it, right? So I didn't want to use that. I just pulled out my baton and he backed off, right? I just felt like a total fucking asshole for that whole thing. But it didn't, even though she had a letter from her lawyer telling her she didn't have to go, that did not negate the warrant. So we just took her out to the car without handcuffs. You know, it was just like friends going out to the bar. Took her to the jail. She had to stay the night in jail. The next day, my boss went to court with her and said, "Hey, we'll just reinstate her bond so she doesn't have to pay again." So, yeah. I mean, we did try to work with people and try to be cool with people. But yeah.
The example, how quickly do you have to produce that initial, so they don't show up and the court's now looking for 50,000? How do you have 24 hours to produce it? Do you have a week?
No, you don't pay. It's that 3-month thing I told you about. Like every 3 months you lose 25% of that bond. So every 3 months
Right, no, but I'm saying that when do you got to come up? Basically, when you got to give them that 50,000, or when you got to give them 25% of 50,000. So the first 90 days you don't have to give them anything, and then day 91 right. You owe them $12,500 essentially.
Yes,
25% of 50,000. So 91st day, 89th day you save 12,500, and you don't have to do anything.
Right.
But like, who runs if you're out on the run, I mean, if you're trying to find someone, I guess you're not always on the road, but I mean, you might have to travel states and or countries. Who runs your business collecting new customers while you're out? I guess you have a staff, then you're like, not knowing, like there's the retail location where offered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, bonds to come in and pay. And there's people that work in there, and then there's the owners or the actual bounty hunters.
We didn't do it that way. Ours was done. When I first hired in, we had an office, but really it was just a place to keep the safe and for us to get together once in a while and bullshit. But since I lived in that town, they said, "Hey, how about if we just pay you X amount of dollars every month for your house to be the office, and like nobody has to go there." So basically all it was them putting their telephone line in my house. And they paid me X amount every month to do that, so that because it was cheaper on them. They didn't have to have the office, which the office was just kind of a waste of money anyway.
Yeah.
And we did 90% of our business at the jail anyhow. We hardly ever had to have people come to the office. If we had to, sometimes we would.
How did people know about your business? Why did they decide on you rather than another person?
The jails have a list of the bail bond companies. And what the jail has to do is every month they have to rechange the order of how the names are in that list, because people start at the top of the list. That's why you see so many bail bond companies named A bail bonds, AA bail bonds, AAA bail bonds. It's because they're trying to be first in the phone book, because people just start at the top of the list and work their way down until they get one. And the way it worked was the phone line was eventually put into my house, and then I just forwarded the calls to my cell phone or to and then whoever was on call with the phone would take care of either dispatching somebody or going and writing the bond themselves.
Well, so in a given year, how much was your time actually looking for, or is, on the road, I guess? I don't know how often that was. Like, would you say that a month out of the year you were looking for a skipper?
Oh, I was always
Fugitive?
looking for somebody. Almost always looking for somebody.
What did most of the
See
time
that
require you to go away from your house, or did you could do it in your area? You could do it from home or locally.
most of them were local because most of my business came out of the jail of the town that I lived in. We did go out to other counties, but see, like every county kind of has like their favorite bail bond company, and ours. We had some trouble because when we came into town, the favorite before us kind of got knocked down, and then we became the favorite just because we were cool motherfuckers. But so we had some problems. That woman, she fucking like it's illegal to take any more or any less than 10% for the bond, right? And you have to have all the payment before the person gets out of jail. Like if we could take credit cards, I would just take people's credit cards and type it all in on my phone. But if they wrote you a check, it had to clear before they could get out. Or if they gave you cash is no problem. Oh man, there was a couple of times where people would bring me. I would end up with $50,000 in cash and other people's money, and like if it happened like on a Saturday night, that meant I was keeping that shit in my house because the banks were closed and I didn't trust the fucking night deposit. So I would have to keep that money all through, Saturday, all day Sunday. And when I first started doing this, I was a steel worker, right? And we were locked out over a labor dispute. A lockout is kind of like the company's version of a strike, where they locked us out, we didn't go on strike. That's a whole other thing. And I knew that we were going to be out for a few months. It was the best summer I ever had. But anyway, I decided I wasn't going to let that old time go by without doing something cool or looking for a different job or whatever. And I didn't have to hurry because the union was paying all of our bills. Plus we were getting unemployment. It worked out pretty good. But anyway, I used that time to start doing this and to get some of my training in. But then when I went back to work, I was doing both. I was doing the steelworker stuff during the day, and I was a bail bondsman bounty hunter at night on the weekends. And like if we had one where I had to go to state, I burned a lot of my vacation time working. So it got pretty rough because sometimes I'd be out all night chasing skips, and then have to go home, change into my steelworker clothes, go to work 10 hours there, or sometimes more. And then if we were looking for somebody hot and heavy, it was just like that, chasing down leads and making a lot of phone calls and that kind of thing.
Was this when you say we, that was when you were at that time, I guess you were working for a company that you had like a team of people that helped? Basically,
yes.
Did you have help? At any point, did you just kind of work when you owned your own bond company? Was that just you, or did you have another person or people that helped you?
I didn't own my own bond company. When I the company that I started
Bill,
with.
This wasn't a gotcha. I'm not trying to do guy. I feel like I'm not. I'm asking. I'm not taking it that way. Conversation. I didn't want to nest up a hornet's nest, but no. When you worked.
No, you're not.
Did you have help essentially when you did this, or did you ever do it all alone, basically, or do you always do it alone?
Both.
Yeah.
See, I
didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
As far as writing the bonds goes, and like the part putting up the money, I never did that on my own. That was always through 24/7 bail bonds. But as far as the fugitive recovery part, I started out doing it strictly for them, where they paid for all the training, all that kind of thing. But I eventually they shut down that company in 2010. But after that, by that point, I'd already started my own just fugitive recovery business, and I kept doing that for a while on my own. So there was two different things there. When you get your bondsman's license, you
Well,
get the
see, that
license
was
to
where my
write
because
bonds.
that might connect with my thing where I was trying to get that fugitive recovery. So, okay, I want to own a bond company. I want to collect people. I want to collect all the $5,000. Boom, boom, boom. Everybody gives me $5,000 and $50,000 bond. But I don't want to be a bounty hunter. I just want to collect people's money. And then
Hmm.
occasionally, 1 in 50 of these people I collected this money from, or 1 in 100, skips. And I say, okay, I have a way to deal with that. I'm just going to give this to a bounty hunter because I don't want to be a bounty hunter. That is what is that what you said, like the fugitive recovery? That's like someone that
Right.
just finds the person
Yes.
when they skip, essentially.
Right. Yeah. I think fugitive is not for everybody. Or sometimes like the bondsman will do recoveries. There's a lot of just like telephone work and skip tracing. Sometimes the bondsman will just do all of that part and then hire out the actual detention because they just it's not for everybody. Um,
Well, no, I mean it's not. It seems like that could be a drag. I don't know, just setting up a business, it could be a drag if I'm spending all of my time trying to find the 2 out of 100 people that skipped this month. I'm less focused on collecting money from the next 100 customers, and if I just give
right.
that to, I say, "Hey, here's 5 grand, here's 10 grand up front, go find me this person." That allows me to focus on the actual bond business as opposed to the fugitive
Right. Right.
recovery, I guess, fugitive recovery business. So I don't know. That's what I would do one or the other. It seems like it's hard to do both at the same time.
It
You
just
know,
kind of depends on the size of your business, like your location. If you live in like New York City, of course you're going to be a lot busier than buttfuck Egypt out here.
yeah, that was real quick. That was what I was getting at, Bill. So, but look at Joe's comment, Mers.
Oh shit, man! I've
Well,
been
I'll
ignoring
read
the
it. It
chat. I'm
says it's
sorry, y'all.
usually the bond place don't do shit, but have the money, right? They outsource to bounty hunters. You need to be insured and bonded for a lot to do that. So I guess that's what I was saying.
Hmm.
That typically, typically when I go that retail spot that so I've seen, I've seen these signs on the side of the road, and then you go by the jail, and there's 5 different retail shops of Jason's bond company, Michael's, Christina's bond company, this and that. They're not actually the ones that are doing the bounty hunting when someone skips. They outsource that to sort of a third party, or usually do they keep it in house and do it themselves? I guess was where I was trying to
Both.
figure that out. Just typically from a business perspective, I guess the business itself.
Yeah, it's both. Some places do it all themselves. Some places just write bonds and then hire out, the bounty hunters when they need to, and it just depends. You can do it whichever way you want. Some places are some bondsmen, like if you have a bondsman who just is just him, which does happen quite a bit in the smaller towns. Um, Sometimes he will be such a tight ass. He just won't try to hide. He will wait until the last day. He'll try to find the guy himself, and he'll wait till the last fucking day when he's about to lose his money, and then go get a bounty hunter. Be like, go find this guy. You got 24 hours. It's like fuck. And sometimes you do find people pretty quick. In fact, most of the time you find people
I mean,
pretty
yeah,
quick
no, I
because they're
mean,
not
but
really
I'm
trying
not
to hide. But
right. But damn, I mean, someone does that to me, I'm going to say, well, fuck you. You had 88 days that you tried to do it yourself, and now you want me to find the guy in the last 24 hours. It's going to cost you twice as much or 3 times as much if I find him. I don't know. Because you're
yeah,
about
you
to
can do
lose all
that.
you're about to lose 12,500. In our case, right? The example I gave, tomorrow you lose 12,500. So you ain't going to pay me $1,000 anymore. You're now going to pay me $9,000. That's what I don't know. I would sort of jam him up a little bit, because
Yeah,
that sounds like they're trying to foist upon their mistake and then trying to save money by not hiring me and giving me time to find someone, and then expecting me to go and do it for the same fee on day 1 versus on day 89. Well, fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. You can't. I mean, there are like kind of standard prices, but doing the recoveries isn't set in stone like actually writing the bonds. And like I had a couple of times where like some of the smaller municipalities, their bonds are $500, so it's $50 to the bondsman. You know, it's you never want to say no to a bond because this person might only make you $50 right now, but 6 months from now, when they get arrested again, they might make you 1,000. You know, so you always want to take everything. But I've had people like this chick skipped out on 500. The bondsman only lost $500. A year later, it was still eating him up. So he paid me 1,000 to go find her and bring her back because she still had an active warrant. I mean, shit like that happens too.
Can you still hear me?
I can now.
Okay. Something's happened. Well, yeah, I always wanted to ask you about that. Just sort of the business of bounty hunting and bond. I don't know. It seems like it could be a good business, but it seems like it could be very stressful very quickly. You know, pressure if multiple people go out skipping at once or something.
Yeah. Oh, you can get like if you lose a whole bunch of bonds at once, it can fucking destroy your business. You know, you got to have all that money ahead of time. You know, the bonds that you actually write, they all have to be covered ahead of time in case you have to pay the county.
Yeah.
But if you have a bunch of them that skip all at once and you can't get them back, yeah, you've just lost all that money.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anyway, thanks for Bill. Thanks as always for letting me up and having a chat. And always enjoy listening to you and talking with you. And I want to say thanks to
no problem,
Cat Eyes out there, Clown Force always trolling, Joe Mertz with the good questions. Let me see what he has to say. Sometimes bond companies pull it back too. My boys out on bond caught it. A $1 bond? I don't know if he meant $1. Usually I know they do that for parole and bro, but I figure bond hold. Huh. I'm not sure what that is. Joe's, that's a question or not. Hunchback farting out, sure. Meth clause. Nah, I don't know. I think I would. Honestly, I think I would like to be a bounty hunter. I think I would be good at it. But I don't know. I would like the bounty hunting. I mean, certainly just collecting bonds seems easier, but it seems like there's a investigatory, you know, you can do a lot of sniffing around and you're researching and asking questions. It seems like you have to be very good with people too, Bill. I'm assuming to be a bounty hunter, to get people to answer your questions, family, friends, workers, co-workers, sort of elicit information. You've got to be good with them.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you, Clown.
And like, you know, and sometimes it's like, if this dude's out actively running and he's got a baby mama somewhere that he owes child support to, she'll probably know where he's hiding and be more than happy to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, just stuff like that. Oh God, who asked me if it's a cutthroat industry? Yes. Like I was saying before, when we took over as the number one company in our area, this woman was calling the state and saying that I was taking cars instead of cash, which is illegal. You got to take cash, credit card, or check. I was taking cars, but I was taking them for collateral. If somebody was real shaky, instead of just taking the title, I'd take the whole fucking car and the title. And when they went to court, then I give them all their shit back. But there were times when they didn't go to court, and like sometimes I would find them within a couple of days. So taking them back to court, I get my money back, plus I keep their collateral, plus they got to pay me for going and finding their ass.
Yeah. Well,
so yeah, I did wind up with a lot.
But you need collateral when you think somebody. Meaning, I don't think you're going to. So you owe me five. So again, we go back to that example I'm giving. I give you my 5,000. You still think either my charges are I'm a flight risk or there's something shaky going on. You can actually ask for additional collateral in addition to the cash that I paid you, which was $5,000.
Right.
In my case.
Right. We carried quit claim deeds with us. I had people, and I don't ever do this, people, but I've had people put up their houses before. And we had the quit claim deeds filled out ahead of time. So if we wanted to, and this guy ran, we could take your fucking house. Yeah. Even if we get him back, we can still take your fucking house. Which with shit like that, like with cars. Stuff like that. Even if people were a little late, kind of coming up with the money, we would still work with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Case in point, this dude put up his what do you have? It was a nice it was like an '86 Buick, but it was a drag car. And he was pretty shaky. We didn't take collateral for everybody. It's kind of dependent on how much of a flight risk they were and how big their bond was and that kind of thing. If a guy's had the same job for 5 years and he's got a wife and kids and he's buying his house, even if he misses his court date, he's not going anywhere unless it's like for murder or some shit, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't usually worry. Somebody like that, we didn't worry too much about taking collateral for, unless it was a really big bond.
Take care, Locksmith. Good to see you here, Lock. Hope all is well. The other thing is like if you got someone on $1 million bond, which I'm not sure even like, I don't know, the $1 million almost seems like it would be no bond, but that's going to take up. Okay, great. Somebody comes in with $100,000, but if you only got $1.5 million or $1.2 million in the bank, they're literally going to drain you of you can really do no other business until that case is settled, basically.
Yeah, because you have to have that money. I had I could have a little over 1.5 million out at any one time. When I first started out, I only had 250,000. But I maxed that out pretty quick. So then they added like another 100,000 and another 100,000, and it just kept building up till I had 1.5 million.
Who added? Your insurance company?
No, the company, the actual bail bond company that I work for.
Oh, I see. Okay. So basically, the more money that you have in an account, the more money you can make, essentially.
Yeah.
At some point, you max out, right? You max out. It's like a sales quota. I mean, if I have access to $300,000, I can only write bonds that equal up to $300,000. Even if someone comes in and they have $1 million bond, I would love to write it because I make $100,000, but I've already maxed out my $300,000. I don't have another $1 million in the bank, so I can't write the bond. Is that, I guess,
okay?
The rule?
I've actually been in that situation. It wasn't $1 million, but it was a fucking lot. We had this huge ass bond come in. The guy had enough, like he owned his own business. He had enough shit in collateral. That wasn't a problem. But I was maxed out. So in that situation, this is where the insurance company actually comes in handy. Instead of just paying the money every month for nothing. I could get it from the insurance company and they would just add it to my account and then I'd have to pay them back with a little bit of interest.
Aha, gotcha. That's sort of where I was at with that. Earlier, I was like, hey, where does the insurance company come into play? So they do come into play to help you get extra money to write additional bonds, basically.
Yeah.
But will they like double?
And it's like the quick claim deeds that I was talking about, I always had a stack of blank ones, so I could just put a quick claim deed on your house right on the spot. Um, the insurance company is the one that supplied the paperwork for all that. They would supply, like if we needed lawyers to help enforce it, they would supply the lawyers. So they did come in handy sometimes, but mostly they just want you to make them money with no overhead, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think I can now drop off here. Warbot has arrived, and he can take over with you. You're in good hands, Bill.
Right
I'm going to
on.
leave you with Warbot. Warbot, I hope you're well. I gave you a shout out earlier tonight, and thinking about you, man. Hope you're doing good, as well as to the chat. Thank you for trolling me, Telly. Always a pleasure having you in chat, Telly. Always a pleasure, and always a pleasure hearing from you on panel. I couldn't think of a better person to annihilate on panel or in chat than you. And with that, I'm going to bid you adieu and have a good night, Bill. Thanks.
All right, man. Thanks for coming up. Take it easy.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I completely was not reading the chat because I was blabbing or listening to Sam. And I'm not smart enough to read and talk at the same time. The collateral on that, like if they own the office, is that? Yeah. We could take pretty much anything for collateral. Yeah, we could put liens on houses or pretty much anything. That's why if somebody had a big bond and they were kind of shaky, I would like to have something in hand. Our local motorcycle club was Invaders, right? And most companies wouldn't bond those guys out because if they decide to run, they got a whole fucking network across the country to help them hide. Plus, you're fighting bikers, right? But the way I worked with some of them is, like, say they had $100,000 bond, which is pretty common for those guys. They would bring me the $10,000, and this is some shit that I would get kind of nervous about. They bring me the $10,000 as my fee for being the bondsman, and because they had this big network, and because they were a flight risk, and because they were dangerous, like sometimes they would bring me like the whole 100,000 as collateral in cash, and then after the guy went to court, I would just give him all that cash back, which I was real fucking nervous about, but. Yeah. Can I take Sam's pandering BS for collateral? If we can figure out a way to make money on it, yeah. Can you see the kitties? I'm not with the kitties right now. I'm sorry. I'll try to next time I go live. I'll probably I don't really know. The next time I go live, I'll probably do it from there. So we'll see the kitties next time, maybe. $1 million bond, and they give you Joe Mers. I wish you'd come up here so we can like talk. I'm not sure. Okay, $1 million bond. They give you 100,000. Yes, I get 10%, which is mine to keep no matter what. The other 900. Oh shit! It moved. Yeah, 400 cash. But if you own the building, oh yeah, you can mix. Yeah, if you don't have enough, if the building isn't worth the whole amount, but you have something else, yeah, we'd work with you and mix stuff up. There was a bunch of times it doesn't really blow my mind, but there are so many people that can't come up with $500 to get out of jail. Everybody works paycheck to paycheck. So there were times where I would give them my phone and let them call all their relatives and You know, Aunt Susie would bring down $100, and Uncle Joe would bring up $100, and wind up mixing it up on like 5 different credit cards for people. So yeah, we would work with people on that. You don't mean one person say it's spread. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I must have missed something. So the company could also put collateral. If I understand your question, yeah, I'm sure what you're saying there. Oh, what's up, Anthony? Yeah, I mean, most people live paycheck to paycheck, you know, and then like you get arrested over some stupid shit. Like there was, I mean, this happened a lot, but this one in particular I remember. I think the only reason the cop arrested this girl was because she was hot, and I'm not kidding. I think that's it. He arrested her for driving on a suspended license because she had some unpaid parking ticket or speeding tickets. Um, in Indiana, it's officers' discretion whether they want to actually take you to jail or not. This girl had, I think, 2 little kids, maybe 3 little kids at home. She worked at fucking McDonald's, had a shit car. Um, so if she had to sit in jail, she was going to lose her job. You know what I mean? Like it sucked because like you have to take. I can't remember what her bond was. I think she needed $1,000 to get out. I don't remember for sure, but you got to collect that amount. You can't give people breaks on the actual bond. You know, I didn't take any collateral from her, but yeah, um, I did feel bad for a lot of people over stupid shit like that. Did 14 months in the feds, was still getting dropped off 6,000 a week, just collecting what I had on the streets. Hey, man, I don't know what you were into, and I don't necessarily need to, but good on you. New York City, the judge gives low bonds. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on where you're at. Like in one county, they might have $10,000 bonds for the same crime, in the next county over, it might only be 5,000. The county that they fixed it now, so they're the same. But my main county, the way they worked it was every other day was. It didn't go by like most places. Superior Court is like for the felonies, and circuit courts for the other stuff. They didn't do it that way here. It went every other day, depending on what date you got arrested on, depending on whether you went to Superior Court or Circuit Court. And they had different bond amounts for the same fucking crime. I mean, this sounds like a joke, but I experienced it. 2 guys are walking down the road, and they were both drunk. Um, One of them lit off a bottle rocket out of his ass, and they both go to jail. Whose bond is more expensive? Well, they were both only charged with public intoxication, but because one booked in before midnight, went to circuit court, his bond was, I think, 5,800. Because the other one booked in after midnight for the same fucking crime at the same time together, his bond was 10,000. That they fixed it since then, but yeah, 10,000 for a kilo. See, let me try to think here. I've actually bonded people out for having kilos of coke, and I think I think they were $100,000 bonds, so yeah, 10,000 to get out. Oh, here's another thing, people. If you're gonna be running drugs, don't speed on the fucking interstate. Make sure all your lights work. It's not that hard. And for the love of God, don't be driving down the interstate fucking getting high while you got a bale of weed in your trunk. Just saying, because I bonded a few people out for smuggle or not smuggling, trafficking, because they were speeding down the interstate or getting high going down the interstate. Yeah, you think that people would know, but got caught up selling Roxy's. Cynthia, fuck with that. It was federal. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it just depends on where you're at, Joe. And sometimes, I mean, most places have set amounts on bonds. But some places, it really is kind of up to the judge, and it depends on. God help you if his wife pissed him off that morning. Oh yeah, imagine that, Joe. Oh, all right, y'all. Okay, good. She just texted me, so I'm going to I'm going to hang this up and talk to her for a minute. But I appreciate y'all, and as always, stay naked.